This is the story of a human being who is dying. He was hit by a truck and is suffering from shock, fractures, and internal injuries. His name is of consequence only to a handful of frightened other human beings who are waiting in this hospital.
They will laugh if he lives, weep if he dies. But what happens to him in this hospital is important to all of us, for it's a reflection of modern medical technique. We'll see what's done for him, not in terms of his tortured body, but in terms of all the wondrous paraphernalia upon which every one of our lives may someday depend. You will see the machinery doctors use to prevent this stretcher from being a bier. The man is lying on a bed, unconscious. Before anything can be done to help him, the thin thread of his life must be tested to find if he'll sustain repairs. The machines begin to move. A blood pressure indicator registers the severity of his shock. He's about 100 points below normal. At the same time, a sample of his blood is taken to a laboratory to be typed, analyzed for chemical content on a flame photometer. The results of this, as well as other tests, will tell not only the man's general condition, but also what kind of blood to pour into his veins from a blood bank. The big eye of the X-ray machines penetrate his body to reveal what the human eye cannot see. If his condition is good enough to stand surgery, the operating room is notified. The operating table is simple, but scores of machines are brought to it. Little machines. Towel clips, scalpels, Mayo scissors, hemostats, retractors, tissue forceps, lap packs, sponges, clamps, mallet, bone cutter, drill, elevators, bone screws and plates, all repeated by the dozen in sizes to reach every possible part of the body. And big machines, tanks of anesthetic, tanks of oxygen, and pumps to apply it. All this so that the struggling breath of a human being will not stop forever. X-ray pictures have charted the course ahead, and at man's disposal are the inanimate creations of his brain. Amidst this wonderland of machinery, an incision is made in his body. His lacerated insides are repaired. Under 2,400 foot candles of lights, his bones are reset. He himself is not strong enough to take in all the breath he needs. He's returned to his bed where a rubber mask awaits him to force feed him with oxygen. A tube is passed through his nose into his windpipe. It's connected to this instrument which clears the passage through which the man breathes. As he struggles back to life, his skin is gently punctured again and again by hollow needles. They carry magic drugs like penicillin, tetanus antitoxin, Demerol, and many others to help him win his fight. And finally, he's left alone, except for one last little machine, the thermometer. It registers normal. And the man whose name might have been John Doe, or your name, will live. But he won't remember the techniques of the machinery. He'll remember the movements of the men and women in white, the touch of gentle, firm hands. And the warm sun ripples across his bed on one particular morning, the morning he woke up alive and hungry.
That is how a life is saved. By film, by sound, by music, and by word, we dramatized this story at the request of Mrs. Kellum DeForest of Hollywood. Now, here are the doctors, nurses, and technicians who wielded and directed those marvel machines.
Admitting officer, X-ray technicians, laboratory technician, anesthetist, instrument nurse, surgical orderly, circulating nurse, bedside nurse, surgeon. And that's the cast. The men and women who in a wonderland of man-made machines saved a life. Mrs. DeForest, you asked for it.